me get some incense. Okay. How is everyone today? Don't mind me. I washed my hair. I'm waiting for it to dry. Going to light some sage and start clearing the energy while we're waiting for people to come in. So something strange happened today. When I went to set up this live, it changed the time again. Remember we did that reading a couple months back about how it automatically changed it to another date. And this time I screenshotted it so I can show you guys. Okay, I'm just gonna give everybody a minute. Don't know if everyone's getting their notifications. That has been happening as well. Told you yesterday I had a problem with the internet. Okay. Get a good burn going. All right. Okay. So before I show you that other screenshot, let me just start by talking about living in grace. So I had met with a client of mine earlier today, and we were talking about the spiritual awakening and, you know, how it makes us look at surrounding situations in a different light. And how once you start your awakening or your spiritual journey, you want to help those people around you to be enlightened as well. The problem is we can't force people into a new perspective. They have to be ready for the awakening, okay? So we were using the example of parenting, okay? But this actually applies to every relationship that you have had, will have, okay? There have been times where maybe you were not spiritually awakened and somebody was good, Tamila. Somebody could have tried to enlighten you and maybe you were not ready to receive that message. Maybe you couldn't hear it for what it was, right? Well, now that you're coming to your spiritual awakening, that may be other people's situations around you. Okay, so we're going to talk about what is and is not in our control. Okay, but before we get started with that, like I said, when I went to save the live, you know, set up the live for today, something weird happened again. Okay, I put in a specific time and date. It was supposed to be for 12:15. And I'm wondering, like, why isn't the live showing up on my page so that I could follow along when you guys are commenting? And then I went back to pull up the live, and what I saw was this. And hopefully it will show it. This is a screenshot of the live. Do you see the time and date? Of course I didn't set it for that date. That's a past date. Why it would even permit to be set up for a past date is insane. Okay, so this is, you know, I don't know what's happening, but, you know, in light of the Back to the Future reading, I think we should just be paying attention. Okay. All right, so let's get into this living in grace. Are you giving yourself grace? Right? That is weird, right, Tamila? That's the third time that has happened. And I'm very confused by that. Very confused by that. Okay, but oftentimes we are the most critical of ourselves, right? And if you've taken my manifestation course, a lot of what we talk about is the monologue, the conversation that we have with ourselves subconsciously, right? This is usually a very judgmental conversation that we have with ourselves. Okay, so I feel like what's good, Tammy? You got to give yourself a certain amount of grace in this walk. Okay, this helps you lighten your frequency. But not only that, you have to give others grace too. Because just because you had an awakening doesn't mean that the person sitting next to you or your family members or people who are important to you are experiencing the same awakening. We're all experiencing awakening, but we could be on different timelines and in different portions of this walk. Okay? So I just wanted to first bring that to light. Okay? So, I feel like we should talk about the living in grace. I want to know what Spirit has to say, because oftentimes, like, I was talking to a client this morning, and she was referring to someone in her life, and she was like, I just want to make them see. And I had to say, you can't make them see. Right? That's wanting something external of ourselves. Right? You can leave food for thought. You can drop gems of knowledge, but it's up to the person to do that. And whenever we're trying to control something outside of ourselves, it's because we feel we lack something, or we want to have a narrative be, with it. We want something to be the way we want it, but it's not up to us. Okay, you have your journey, you have to worry about your journey, and the next person has to worry about theirs, and so on. And hopefully, by us living in a higher vibration, we actually encourage and inspire others to want that for themselves. Okay, so let's see what Spirit has to say about living in grace and about affording others grace to find their journey, right? And we most often see an example of this. I call them holy rollers, right? People who are very religious versus spiritual. Right now, most times, just like in Christianity or any religion or spirituality, a lot of people find their walk, as their belief system or their walk, through some type of shadow period, dark night of the soul, tower moment, and it makes them search for something outside of themselves, right? And then what happens is that these people who are sitting in the pews and they've been there for a while, and a few years, they remove themselves from the frequency of what brought them to that pew, to that church, to that belief system, right? And then they start looking at others in a judgmental light. Oh, you're not supposed to do that, or oh, this, that, and the third. Excuse me. Right? But they forget that, they were once not in that frequency. Right? So let's take, for those of you who have knowledge of Christianity, right? Let's take Jesus, for instance. Jesus was known to walk with those people who were maybe coloring outside the lines, tax collectors. What, I don't believe that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute, but per biblical, right? Prostitutes and thieves, right? And they asked him why. He said, well, those are the people that need my help the most, right? So I feel like a lot of people get turned off by people's judgments, whether it's spiritually or religiously. And it discourages them when we pass judgment on someone else's walk. Okay? And most often we do that because we want to feel superior. And that's the bottom line. Okay? So let's, it's like they distance themselves from the sin that brought them to that place, right? So like, let's say if you were a drunkard, right? And, you used Christianity or any faith-based system to, get you right? And then you've been clean for 4 years, and you might see somebody else and be like, oh, you see, they're an alcoholic. They're not doing shit with themselves. They ain't gonna be shit. Did you forget that you were once like that? And who are you to judge, right? Let's take another example. And I'm going to use Christianity again, okay? Because that's the system that I came from. One of the things that turned me off the most was that, Leviticus names all the sins, right? All the sins, right? Don't lay with your maidens, right? Or don't, like, in other words, don't lay with kinsmen. In other words, like, don't have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and then lay with their brother or sister, because that's a sin, right? Drinking is a sin, right? What's good, Jennifer LaRoe, right? And then what they do, right? The ones that get demonized the most, gay people. So everybody in there is like, oh, it's a sin, it's immoral. I'm not here to judge anybody else's walk, especially, if the pastor or the deacon, they have a fucking drinking problem or they beat their wife. What makes your sin any less than this other person? Okay, why? Because it's just a way to feel like these people are less than you, right? So we don't give others grace, and sometimes we don't even give ourselves grace, right? I also heard something yesterday that really stood out to me in my own walk. Okay, and what it was that this woman was saying that there are psychologists that believe that you could have not had any trauma. Let's say you had a perfect life. We know that we all go through shit, but you could have not had any trauma, right? And you could be saying, like, why do I keep meeting the same type of man or woman who always cheats on me and treats me like shit? And why does this keep happening to me? Is this like some type of generational curse? I didn't even do anything in this lifetime to deserve this. And the psychologist was basically saying that there's a phenomenon where if we're attached by the umbilical cord and we're getting nutrients, DNA, amniotic fluid, all these things while we're in gestation, we're also picking up the frequency of the host, mother or father, correct? So if the mother was being cheated on while she was in the gestation of forming a child, not only does she pass on her genetics, but she also passes on the frequency of what she's experiencing during that time. Okay? So I found that very enlightening, because I know that my mother had a very difficult pregnancy while she was with me. Like, she was not accepted by the family, all types of things, So my point here is that sometimes we judge ourselves. We judge ourselves like, you know what? I'm a good person. Why do these things happen to me? And you could, be picking up somebody else's external frequency. Maybe you need to look at things from a different perspective, right? Maybe you need to understand that this is an inherited, generational curse. But so, like I'm saying, sometimes we don't give ourselves the grace to interpret our experiences as more external. What's good through Maddie's eyes? Like, we don't allow ourselves to see it more external, right? And we use these experiences to judge ourselves extremely. Now, I'm going to go back to something I said before everybody started coming in. Prior to starting this live, I set up the live for 12:15. I want to show you guys. I couldn't understand why the live wasn't coming up so I could follow. Look at the time and date. I had to go back and correct it. Look at why would they set that time when I put 12:15 for today? Do you guys see that? That is the third time that has happened, and I find it quite odd. Why would it even be allowed to set up a past date and time? I mean, it's saying, what was it, on December 29th or 31st, whatever the hell it said. You know what I'm saying? So it's just weird things are happening, and in light of that, Back to the Future reading, I just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention. Okay, so back to the living in grace, right? Exactly, Tammy. That's what I was like, what the hell? Right? So you got Messenger, Cyrus energy, bringing harmony and balance. Right? So once you're in harmony and balance, you really don't feel the need to judge somebody else's walk. And maybe, whether it's Christianity or, I'm going to look that up, right? Even if you don't need to, even if it's not Christianity, it could be any organization, right? Maybe some of these people are judgmental because they want to forget their past deeds, right? They want to forget their past deeds. Once you start, that's what I think, through Maddie's eyes. That's exactly what I think. But I feel like once you start coming into union of the 5 parts of yourself, you recognize that other people may not be where you are, and you may even recognize that you have way more to go. So it becomes quite easy to be more balanced and not so damn judgmental to others, right? You also have karmic relationships. And it says, Orion energy, polarity, soul growth, conflict. Sometimes, like let's use a family member. Sometimes a family member, they may not be aware that they're judging you because they have their own generational curses that they've came through with, right? And Spirit could be using that person as a catalyst for you to recognize how maybe you've been judgmental and how you should avoid doing that because you don't like it done to you. This is the polarity, as above, so below, right? So they could be a catalyst to you, right? But you could also be a catalyst to them, depending on whether you choose to attack them or whether you choose to inspire them. I prefer the latter, okay? Now you got jump in. And it says Andromedan energy, sorry, some of these words be crazy. Adventure, say yes to change, right? So as we're on this journey, it's important to share the information, but you can't take offense if people aren't accepting of it, right? Some of us will even judge ourselves like, damn, I see things for what they are, but look at all the things that I allowed to happen to me, or look how I used to look at people, look how I looked at myself. you know, you got to give yourself grace, right? Because when you know better, you do better, right? Child of the cosmos. The intelligence of the universe lies within you. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. When we get to the part of the walk where we start unlocking some of this expansive knowledge that has been within us the whole time. And I've said on here before, you know, that the ascension journey is addictive. Once you recognize that you are elevating and that it changes your frequency and that it also changes the things that are around you, you want everybody to get it, especially if they're in your inner circle, if it's your man, your mom, your kids, right? You want this to happen faster because you feel like collectively we'll be so much more empowered, right? But you have to be careful that you're not pushing people into something that they have not had that awakening, that they're not being cracked open in the same way, right? So we're here to leave the food of growth, spiritual growth, not to jam it down people's throats, right? So this is part of, you know, our journey, right? Learning to accept things as they are, not how we want them to be. Individualities at the bottom of the deck, and it says every person has their own personalized study plan in this earth school. Exactly what I said. What's good, Evelyn? Right? So this is exactly what I'm saying about our journey being individual, and like how sometimes we will be the catalyst for someone else, or they will be the catalyst for us. And we don't need judgment attached to that, okay? Because we're trying to achieve Christ consciousness, unity consciousness, right? And you get more flies with honey, right? So this is what we're talking about today, right? Delusion coming out crossed. Intention without surrender can be the fast path to delusion. Two things. You may be recognizing, you know, in your own spiritual growth that the majority of your walk was done in a manner in which you could not perceive the reality of something. What's good, sugar plum? Right? And it could have been, the truth could have been elusive to you. And there's some part of the truth that's always elusive to us. We're always learning. And I say, be the perpetual student. Be the perpetual page of Pentacles, right? So once you start clearing out your own delusion, it makes you just want to go around shaking people up. Like, don't you see? Can't you see? We've been lied to. Like, but that's not going to help them, because remember when you were there? If somebody would have came up and told you, you know, we about to have some visitors, I get messages in my sleep, like all kinds of shit, people would think that you were wholly fucking crazy, right? So understand that people have to be open and receptive to it. Your better bet is living in the light of your own grace, and that will inspire others, okay? Now, you have grounded coming out crossed. And before I even get into this grounded card, this intention without surrender can be the fast path to delusion, right? This could also be, you know, you thinking, okay, now I have this relationship with spirit, right? So I have to, you know, explain this to others. You want to share the information, you want to put it out there, but it's not your job to force these people into an awakening, because you and your spirit guides are creating a relationship that is for you, right? So for you, it may be spirituality. For somebody else, it could be Buddhism. For somebody else, it could be Christianity. So we each have to find our individual walk, okay? So we're not there to, like, you know, make people see our truth. That's your truth, okay? Now, you got grounded coming out crossed. Many of the most evolved beings on earth are regular folks living with joy, dignity, and courage. And it makes me think of that song by, why can't I remember his name? John Legend. We're just ordinary people. We don't know which way to go. 'Cause we're ordinary people. Maybe we just need to take it slow, right? So understand that we're all experiencing this in some different magnitude, okay? And we need to be somewhat supportive, even if we can't understand, okay, what somebody else is going through. Okay, and then once you're getting this enlightenment and you start this journey, you start seeing things from a more 4 and 5D perspective, right? And like I said, it gets addictive because you're like, oh my God, this is changing my life, right? But we also need to keep some balance of groundedness, as above, so below, right? So that we don't just become ethereal and not understanding or respecting or being able to process the 3D. We have to find an equal balance, right? You have receiving. Every day it becomes easier to receive the highest divine plan and to trust my inner guidance, because that's what it is. It's guidance. So if spirit had to wait for you to awaken and was giving you synchronicities and trying to bring you along your path, that's as much as you can do for somebody else too. You can't force them. Spirit couldn't force you. Divine force, divine source. Help me to know that all my deepest needs will be met. Let me trust that you have a plan and the right actions will come. You are my source for all. Right? So once you start relying on this divine source, this relationship that you have, your frequency will be different. And this is what calls people to awakening. Okay? Recognizing the change in the people that are awakened. Whether it's, like I said, in Christianity and Buddhism, in the ATRs. It doesn't matter what helps you awaken. The point is to be on the path of awakening, okay? So let's get another deck. Let's go with Shaman's Dream. And I felt like, you know, this is an important topic, although it was inspired by my private client this morning. I feel like, you know, often either if I have an experience or if a client, you know, says something to me that I think is relevant to all of us, I'm going to do that because I feel like, you know, what does Mama D says? She says, if it's you, then it's me, right? And it is that way that, you know, if you're experiencing something, that person may not be experiencing the exact same thing, but there's a lesson of growth for all of us, okay? So I will always, you know, try to bring messages that will open up our understanding to assist us in our personal journeys. Although we may be walking different paths, we all know that we have to keep walking, right? So how can we help each other and assist each other in this journey? And that's what this, you know, what this channel is about. I can't speak for other people, but that's what this channel is about. Okay? Anything else from this deck, Spirit? Anything else? Last shuffle, Spirit. Thank you. Okay. So you got fallen angels, spiritual narcolepsy, which is kind of fitting, right? So So let's say we was talking about, before we came to our own awakening, we were asleep, spiritual narcolepsy, right? So now when you start waking up, you start realizing how many people around you are fucking sleeping, right? We need to maybe, if they're very close to us, we can pray on their behalf. We can make offerings, to our ancestors to assist them. We can even pray to their ancestors, to their spirit guides. Please help them, right? But it's not for us to try to shake them up, right? Because they might not be ready, right? You got winter's dream, gestation period. There's also part of the thing that you may have gotten this download. You could be cracked open, right? But since we're always the Page of Pentacles, this apprentice, this is Earth School, right? While we're walking in this journey, we may not have all the way processed our own download to be jamming it down somebody else's throat, or because, okay, so like your first awakening could be like, all right, I feel like I pick up energy from other people, and you may start to put a practice together that assists you to purge negative energy that you pick up, right? But then when you get to a secondary part of your awakening, you recognize that, yeah, that's good, and it's important. But above that, it's about how not to be moved, and how not to let other people's energy throw you off your square, right? So then you start learning a different aspect about your personal control, and how when you allow people's frequency to change your frequency, then you're actually giving your power away. So you see how the ascension comes in layers. You will always be learning something new, right? So we're not, there's going to be people who are ahead of me, right? I'm going to be ahead of other people. And this is just factual. This is how it works, right? You got drifter, experiencing life as it comes. Okay? And I feel like the Buddhists, this is a very strong principle for them, right? Because they feel like they are the all, right? We are manifesting this reality together. We all see a chair because we all believe and taught that it's a chair, right? But it's made of the same molecules that you're made of, right? So they see it as perception, meaning that they are watching as a passive observer, right? Not internalizing every experience as a reflection of whether they're good or bad. This is part of the soul journey, right? So when you can give yourself that grace, you start to be able to give that to others, okay? Which I think is very important, okay? Now, door closing completion is in reverse. You may not be finished, with your growth. And quite honestly, I hope that you never are. Because once you stop growing, you're stopping your ascension, right? So we always want to be open to learning something new, right? I try to see myself as the perpetual student. I never want to stop learning more, not only about myself, right? But the understanding of the relationship between me and spirit, right? And then you got stars in the sky, limitless possibility. And that is in reverse. Some people may not be able to see what you see, and they are limiting themselves. They're putting a cap, a glass ceiling. You could be doing this to yourself. If you feel like, okay, well, what I have now, this understanding, this is all that I ever need to know, and I don't need anything else, and I'm closed off to hearing anything else, then you've failed in some level of ascension, right? So, yeah, once you stop learning, it's over. Exactly. What's good, L Cubed? So this is what I'm saying, all right? Remember that we're all in this earth school. We're all on this journey. You know, you could be a master to someone else and an infant in someone else's eyes. Okay? So it's perception, all right? And I feel like this is a healthy way at looking at your own spirituality, but also as well other people's. Okay, for myself, you know, I grew up in a family with a lot of generational curses and traumas and things like that. I've had a lot of crazy things happen to me. But by looking at the past 3 generations, I had a way better understanding of not how only I got there, but how my whole family line got there, right? This is also important. Okay, so let's just take a look at what Spirit has to say about living in grace and allowing ourselves, you know, a modicum of grace, allowing others a modicum of grace. What does Spirit have to say about this? Okay. Spirit, can you show me? Anything else, Spirit? The moon and the bottom of the deck in reverse. I feel like this is some of like uncovering mysteries in your own growth. Sorry. Right? So uncovering some mysteries, some answers that you have, and we'll always have some spiritual questions about, you know, what's the song I'm hearing? What's the meaning? What's the meaning of life? Right? We're always going to have a certain amount of mystery. Thank you. A certain amount of mystery that is attached to our experience here. And, you know, when I first started my channel and I had gotten the download about my Manifest the Life You Want, and I had wrote like this 4-part series in like 2 weeks or whatever, I was so excited to share the download that I had gotten from Spirit, right? Wanting to give this message to everybody, right? This enlightenment with the sun, right? But people have to be ready. Look who's here, Page of Pentacles. This is exactly what the fuck I said. People have to be ready, because if not, they're going to be, you know, stuck, right? You have to give them time to see that perspective from the hangman, okay? And deliver the message in the light of love, right? Because understand that an awakening, just like yours did, it caused a fair amount of conflict within you. You don't need external conflict as well, right? So let's get into clarifying some of these. So I was saying, you know, that most of the spiritual awakening comes from some type of dark night of the soul or shadow work, right? And you could have felt like the black sheep. You could have felt left out in the cold. You could have been asking, like I said in the beginning, why does this shit happen to me? Why do I attract these certain people? Why do I feel left out? Why does my family not understand me? Whatever your particular trigger was that began an awakening, right? But at the same time, once you have this awakening, if you use it in a way to judge others, then you will be putting them in the Five of Pentacles and leaving them out in the cold. You see? So we need a fair amount of balance when we're walking this journey, right? So you have the Five of Pentacles here. This could have been your experience, okay, where you feel like I was left out from whatever, like I said, whatever situation, right? You could also feel left out by your family right now because maybe they don't understand your spiritual walk, right? Right, but it's because you have become the hermit. There's a spiritual awakening that is happening with you. You're having a conversation with spirit. And something has been illuminated to you with the sun. And that's beautiful. It will make you automatically feel like you are not alone, even if you were. Because spirit wants you to know that you are whole and sovereign being, you know, apart from everybody else. And that you don't necessarily need the approval, right? Now, as well, here's the Queen of Cups. How do you share this enlightenment once you get it? By being loving, right? One of the first relationships, you know, if your mother is still alive, because the Queen of Cups is also the mother, right? One of the first relationships that this enlightenment will be tested is if your mother is still alive, you could be thinking like, what will my mother think of this awakening? Will they see me now in a different light, right? But it also works two ways, right? Because as you're having this awakening, you could be looking at a family member. It doesn't even have to be your mother. It could be, you know, somebody that you're close to and be like, you know, you did X, Y, and Z wrong. And I recognize this now because I've been enlightened, right? Telling them like that is probably not going to work, right? But if you can show them the benefits of the improvements that you have experienced, more often than not, they will want to experience that too. Okay, so we could have came to the spiritual awakening because we felt left out in the cold, Five of Pentacles. But we also have to be careful that on our ascension, we're not leaving others out in the cold too. Okay, now this is not to say that you got to have your toxic family members up in your face every day, bringing you judgment. And, you know, some people, some relationships is healthier at a distance. But even if that occurs, we still need to give them a certain amount of grace, that they are a spiritual being too. They just have not had the awakening that you have had. Okay, so you got Justice here, and this is about living in balance, right? One more. So this is about this internal balance. What's good, Pink? And finding this balance within ourselves, creating our own justice. We're not supposed to be sitting around waiting for other people to finally see us for who we are. We need to, no need to announce, right? So we are not supposed to be sitting around waiting for other people to tell us that our choices are just, right? Because then you're giving your power away to be judged by somebody else, right? Sometimes we have to give ourselves justice by removing the people who we wish them well. We want them to ascend. We will give them advice, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm going to sit with you every day and your frequency fucks me up because you are in a dark night of the soul, or you don't see your culpability in a situation. All I can do is give you the food for thought. I can't make you eat it. And I sure as hell ain't going to let you take me out my frequency. So justice sometimes looks like blocking individuals, okay? And sometimes that's the actual catalyst that makes them see, right? We're not doing it as a punishment to them, like, oh, I don't like that you're not in this frequency, so, you know, fuck you, right? That's not what that is, okay? I could say, oh, you know, that frequency is not for me. Think of your spiritual growth as a table, right? So I always wish you eat, just not at my table. Okay? I'm wishing you the best, but it can't be me who does it for you. Okay? Because the Ace of Swords came out here crossed. What's your truth may not be somebody else's. And that's okay. What someone's opinion of me is none of my fucking business. Because it's not relevant. Okay? How they perceive me is not really relevant to my soul journey. Only if I give them the importance of that. Okay? And we always have a fair amount of conflict within us with the as above, so below. Right? So we should always be working on our own boundaries, on our seeing ourselves as better, for the competition, for the growth, right? Iron sharpens iron, right? So if you're looking at somebody else's plate and you're doing that wrong, then you can't even focus on your own shit, right? And on every day of the week, I could think of some shit that I need to work on. That's probably a better thing of our time, okay? And it's not to say, these people, they could be going through, some shit where you're like, yo, like, this what you really, but you can't force them. You just can't. Seven of Cups. One of the hardest things can be illusions or choices, options, because these cups can be options as well, right? Sometimes what we want is to make someone see what we believe. This is heavy. Okay, let me try to slow down so I make sure I say it right. We could, like, let's say you're married, for instance. You're married, you have this spiritual awakening, and you are trying to force your partner to see your perspective. You know why you're doing that? Because you're already subconsciously getting the message that if this person doesn't elevate, or if I don't stop my ascension and come back down to them, we will no longer align. And because you don't want to make a choice, that could be the exact catalyst that spirit is bringing to your life. You don't want to face the choice that, you know what, if this person doesn't get to a certain point, I may have to release them because it's not for my highest good. What we will do is try to find ways to make them see, right? But this King of Cups cross, he could be in the energy like, fuck that. I don't want to see. I don't believe that. I don't want to believe that. I'm not interested in that. And they could be in a delusion because if they accept what you're saying, then they have to look at themselves and the dark night of the soul and the 5 parts of themselves that have not been aligned. And then that means that they have to do some shadow work. And most people ain't up for the fucking job, right? Knight of Pentacles. And some people, they think it sounds sweet in premise, like, oh yeah, I want to spiritually grow, until they realize that shadow work is painful. You spend crying, you're thinking about the things maybe that you could have done better, or what you need to improve in yourself. It's a forever journey, right? Also, this Knight of Pentacles can be reflective of the person who says, sure, I understand, but they're not even fucking listening. Look at him looking at the computer, right? Half listening, fuck that. Breadcrumbing you, oh yeah, I get it, but they really don't. And you could be trying to force yourself to get them to see something, because the truth is you don't want to have to make a decision that you don't like because you feel like you need this person or this approval or whatever it is, because you still looking at something outside of yourself as making you complete. If I don't get my spouse, my mother, my child to understand my perspective, and they refuse to accept me, then I have to change and leave them behind, and I'm not ready. And that's the truth. Okay? Right. So through Maddie's eyes says it feels like a lonely journey, but when you get there or getting close, you realize it was meant to be this way because you were set apart. Then you find your soul tribe along the way. Absolutely correct. Okay, so for everything, and you always say the as above, so below, the polarity, right? So just as much as they could be living in an illusion, you could be in an illusion of waiting for someone to have their growth, because the mission that you have is to walk away, but you don't want to do it because it's scary. You don't know what's on the other side of that. And that's also part of your ascension. So we need to be careful about why we want somebody to see our truth. Why not just let them find theirs? Okay, 4 of Pentacles coming out cross. Spirit, why is that? And if ever, yes, Spirit will make sure you connect with your soul tribe. And if ever, let me just say this as a preface. If ever in a private session, and I tell you something, because I never reveal people's names, right? And then I come on and do a live about that particular subject. It is not to put you on blast or to make you feel a certain way. It's actually because I feel like you have given me a download about how I can help the collective more. Okay? So we're in this channel, we're all here working together to help each other elevate collectively. Okay? I will never reveal who you are, but never take it as an attack. We're here growing together. Okay? So this 4 of Pentacles coming out cross. We could be afraid to let something go that maybe no longer aligns with us. Maybe we don't want to see it because it's scary, right? And we're still healing and we're still, guarded, right? Other people could be holding on to us or holding us back from healing because they don't want to look at their part in their own journey. But you have to be able to see yourself as a divine sovereign being. Okay? Queen of Pentacles out here. The Queen of Pentacles is very independent, highly connected to the Empress, goddess energy. She's a manifestation monster. She can, manifest independence, coin, and she's also the quintessential spouse. So like, I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never let you forget you're a man, right? So she's like the bee's knees, right? She's in balance with herself as keeping her independence and yet being able to nurture others. That's what the Queen of Pentacles is, right? So this is about healthy boundaries, right? It doesn't mean you have to hard end every relationship. There will be some, yes. There will be others that you can, assist them, but you have to have healthy boundaries because what is meant for you is meant for you, and they may not be on that leg of their journey yet. And we can't let people hold us back from where we're supposed to go because we're afraid to leave them behind, or they're afraid that we'll leave them behind. Okay? Now, you got the 6 of Pentacles out here as well. Let's take a look at that. Soul tribe shit. You see this? Okay, so let's say you have a conversation with me and it clicks, something clicks, poof, right? And then you go and you watch another video or something, and then another piece clicks in. We're supposed to help each other elevate. Now, if you find yourself always at the bottom and people stepping on you, then something's out of whack, right? Something's out of whack. And it could be, let's say you find yourself always at the bottom and you say, people are always stepping on me. Or could it be that you overgive because you feel like the only way people see your worthiness is if you're doing something for them? Then that's how you see yourself. You see yourself as unworthy. What's good, Copenhagen? You see yourself as unworthy of receiving, and that the only way that you could be worthy is if you're doing something for somebody else. And then when people habitually expect you to do shit for them, then, you're like, well, they don't do nothing for me, but you trained them that way, right? This was an illusion that you gave, that you came only to be a servant. There's a difference between being in the business of serving, like I serve a collective, I'm not a servant. You see what I'm saying? Right? Two of cups, right? The yin and the yang. Once you understand that this is a relationship with you and the divine, and that you understand that you're in the partnership with the divine, then the divine will send you people who are also in that energy, who also feel whole. And then two wholes become one. It's not less this person's broken and I'm broken and we're going to come together and we're going to, be whole. That's rarely ever happens, okay? And once you become in balance of your own yin and yang, and you recognize that you have your divine masculine, divine feminine within you, and you become in balance with that, you can actually leave the frequency of heartbreak behind. Not to say that you won't ever have something that you find heartbreaking, but you no longer live there. You no longer live in that zip code of pain. Okay? Right? And you start being the high priestess, right? And understanding that there's a connection between you and the divine, and that you are constantly in the fool's journey. Every day is an opportunity to grow, right? Eight of Pentacles. Spirit, why is the Eight of Pentacles here? Okay, you should be, and not saying that there's not hard times, because there are, even in the spiritual walk, there are hard times, right? The Eight of Pentacles, right? Working on your spirituality. Three of Cups. And being happy about the opportunity, even when, there's some sadness attached, but you're realizing that you are unlocking your own happiness when you work on that, okay? And, you may notice, like, I'm going through this spiritual awakening and I'm becoming the master of my own frequency, but my finances haven't changed, or, let me just use the finances first, right? But you start realizing that, oh, well, you know what? I'm still abundant. Like, I feel abundant, even though I don't got shit, right? Because the energy of the frequency of knowing that all will be, and that you already are, and that spirit is working in connection with you, you no longer fear the lack, which is very important. Okay? And then you will start to see, with the Queen of Wands in reverse, there could be people in your circle who you would have thought would be so happy for you, and they may not be. And it could be jealousy, but more often than not, it's really based in the fact that they don't see themselves in a positive light, and that you doing so well is highlighting what they feel they lack. Okay? So instead of getting pissed off at this person, you might have had to let them go. Could have been a best friend, a lover, family member. you know, you don't got to deal with them, but still root for them in private. You don't got to call them up and tell them, but root for them anyway. Root for them. Root for their spiritual growth. So that one day maybe they could be in the upright. Now, I didn't say don't protect yourself. We've gone through our spiritual work and protect ourselves. But we don't, you know, because the Queen of Wands in the reverse, she's insecure as hell. You know, here she's the Phoenix Rising. Here she's insecure. Right? So are you going to let other people's insecurities affect your journey? Because that's what you would be doing. Even if you internalize their jealousy towards you, you can acknowledge it, but then keep it pushing. Like, it doesn't belong to you. That is a frequency outside of yourself, right? And it will prevent you from getting the victory. Right? It'll prevent you from getting the victory. And the Five of Swords, and maybe that's what they want because they feel that, you know, energetically you're leaving them behind. Right? Or maybe this is a way for you to prevent yourself because, you know, like Maddie said, you're being set aside for something great, you know, to whom much is given, much is required. And you're afraid of the success of that. So it's kind of a way of tricking yourself out of that, you know, ascension. Okay. And the Nine of Pentacles and becoming that sovereign being. And climbing that ladder without fear, right? And keeping the Knight of Wands, the passion, the solar plexus, the desire to go after something and be strong enough to make choices that are for our highest good, the Lovers, right? And also be able to allow people that come in with a similar frequency. This is what will bring us into balance. Not judging ourselves about how long it took us to get to a specific place and judging ourselves or looking at other people like, why aren't you where you know? These are distractions we use to not have to do more work. And it's okay because, you know, you might take a break in between. You could get a crazy download, you know, go through a spiritual ascension. Then 3 months, it's like quiet. Spirit's giving you a period to calibrate. Another ascension will come. We don't have to be in a hurry, okay? So let's look at the Kipper. We're on a perpetual journey. You see that? And mature man, mature woman, you know, we are all in earth school. This could be your father. This could be your partner. This could be you. You could be in your masculine. You know, we're learning here. And sometimes, you know, a young person can give an older person an awakening or vice versa. Let me tell you something. My daughter, this year's her 30th. She's so brilliant. Okay, and she took my Manifest the Life You Want course, and it changed the way she saw life. But because of the download that she received, when I see her, I feel like I want to be her when I grow up, right? Because even though she's not maybe as developed like a high priestess or whatever, but she's going to be, I think, my first student. Okay? I think she's going to be my first student when it comes to Reiki because she has such an understanding as far as meditation and the energies and the frequency. Right? So you never know who's going to trigger an awakening in you. Never think that, you know, you already learned everything or you know more than the next person. It could be a random person in the street, say some shit to you, show you a moment of kindness, and a light bulb goes off, right? And I actually love those moments because I feel like those are the purest forms of spirit communicating with me. Okay? Journey, spirit. Right? So the journey is here. There's going to be lots of people along the way. Knight of Swords. They may not say anything to you. What's good, BJ? They might keep their silence, but you feel energetically like they're spiritually attacking you or attacking your beliefs, right? There could be people arguing with you, judging you, right? This is part of the journey because Spirit wants to know, will you make yourself less so somebody else can be more, so somebody else can be comfortable, right? And everybody you see who's coloring outside of the lines in their spiritual growth or whatever their path is, you don't got to speak on that shit. You don't. It may not even be your place, okay? If you are putting up your healthy boundaries, you need to respect somebody else's. Okay, you need to realize that you're on a journey for your own sovereignty and it's not up to you to, force your awakening. That may cause them some type of shock, okay? Mature man. The mature man and the fool. Because we're all going to take the mission. Is when some people will get it earlier, some people will get it later. We might not all get to the same point, right? So meaning like, maybe your dad or your partner or your brother or your son or your wife, whatever the relationship is, maybe they only get half of what you're saying. But maybe that's what they need in their life and they're not ready for the whole meat and potatoes that you're on, right? We got the spiritual milk and then we got the spiritual meat, right? You could be on the meat and they could be on the milk, right? Or vice versa. You can come into contact. You could have been walking this spiritual journey and then all of a sudden you realize like you came into contact with somebody new and they open up a whole new thing and then you were like, I thought I was on the meat and I'm on the motherfucking milk, right? And then here you got those people, family members, friends, whomever they may be, who may want to ascend like you. They may love you. They may really have good intentions, but your awakening triggers them to feel insecure, triggers them to feel a sense of lack. So they can't really, yes, bit by bit, they can't really, embrace it or be happy for you in the way that they would like or the way that you would like, because it's going to highlight where they are not, what they are not. So just understand that it's not their time, and you don't need to judge them for that. Okay? Now, you could also be this Queen of Wands crossed, right? Because you could be trying to minimize your spiritual walk to make other people feel comfortable. And that's, you're going to have to learn that at some point, you're going to have to step out from behind the shadows. So like for me, May 1st, 2020, was me stepping out of the shadows and starting my YouTube channel. And it was scary and I cried and I was like, but fuck it, 2 tears in a bucket, whoever don't fuck with me, it was meant to be. And I've lived in that. And I found out that most of the people that rocked with me, they fucked with me anyway. Sometimes it's our own perception of what we believe that prevents us from going after the things that we want or the things that we need, okay? Distant horizons. Because the spiritual growth is always happening. Okay? That's your birthday, May 1st. That's my anniversary. And I actually gonna do a special live for that. So all of you keep keep paying attention for that day. Okay, we're gonna have a special session that day. But distant horizons, right? This is the journey, and we're always learning, right? Oh, thank you, Team Lovelee, right? So I feel like we're all going through this growth together, right? And sometimes it may feel far off, and then sometimes, you know, we get there faster than we think. The path is being illuminated by spirit, right? And it feels so damn good once you start getting it, right? Even the dark night of the souls don't scare you as much as they used to, because you understand that, you know, that is only but for a night. Meaning, like, you know, a new day will come, and you know that, you know, the after the tower or the dark night of the soul comes the ascension, right? So you start learning how to ride the wave and not fearing it, right? And you start recognizing that even though there are moments of sadness and pain, that these things actually help you come into your wish fulfillment, and how to maintain it, how to get it, how to follow your own voice, how to follow what you want without letting other people's judgments block you, right? And then the Nine of Wands, and you always will have some senses of trauma. You always will. And this is the point, right? When we came through with the soul journey, we had a contract. We actually knew what we were going to experience. This was for our highest good, right? Right? And once we start on this path with spirit, this ascension, right? This illumination, right? Going after our heart's desires. We have to put the boundaries up to other people and say, I understand that you feel that way. However, this is my boundary. This is my journey. I wish you the best. Don't mean I don't fuck with you. Don't mean I don't got love for you. But I'm not really open to your criticisms of how I'm walking on my journey. Now, there's a difference between healthy criticism and somebody who's genuinely trying to bring something to your attention that you can't see. And we have to be open to those days, right? And someone trying to prevent you from ascending because they feel like they'll be left behind. And as you become more in control of your own frequency, you will know the difference, okay? All right, so we're on a perpetual journey of healing with the Four of Swords, right? And there will always be decisions and crossroads and choices with the Lovers across our lifespan that determine what the next level of ascension is, okay? Spirit, you show me. And then I'm going to get up out of here because I'm hungry as hell. Anything else from this deck, Spirit? Thank you. Okay. So, very interesting what came out. Spirit, can you show me why this flirt card is here? Some of these cards don't even belong in this deck. Okay. So this flirt card, it makes me feel like, you know, once you learn that there is a connection to the divine, but also within you, right? You're not so afraid. You're not so afraid to shine your light. It says extend your lighthearted energy to others, right? In a playful way. Not like, oh, you know what I dreamt last night? That this and this and that and the third, and you're doing that shit wrong. That is not gonna pull people to you, right? But you shining your light will, right? Fun times, because your frequency feels whole. Your chakras are giving off a whole energy, and people feel it. They may not know why they feel this, but they know that they like being around you, right? And there are going to be some people who are going to get it. This could be your new soul tribe. These could be some family members that don't get it. And it may be unclear if they're ever going to get it. But that's not your concern. It's not. Okay? Your concern is living in your divine truth, is no longer lying to yourself about your frequency and what you need to work on, right? See how spirit don't be playing? And you won't need to lie to yourself. You know, you won't need to. You won't need to, to dumb down or hide your thing and have these trust issues, because you will trust yourself and know that your truth was meant for you, and it doesn't have to be for everybody else. And not everybody got to understand it. And you may not be for everybody. And you're going to be okay with that. Okay, because you're coming into union with yourself, with the divine, right? And you have to worry about your frequency and your happily ever after. Right? And the divine is calling you, okay? And at the same time, as you open yourself to that, you are calling others to you. But you have to release the control of wanting people to see it in a perspective, because part of that is your own fears, right? That you might have to let go of people, places, and things that you become accustomed to, right? But don't worry, it will be replaced with soulmates. Okay? This shit of needing, approval from others, it's an illusion. Okay? And we're going to overcome it, you see? All right? So that's pretty much what I have for you guys today. I just wanted to come through, talk a little about our own perceptions of our journeys, and how sometimes, we can prevent ourselves from growing because we're worried about what others will think, or we could be judging others because we don't want to look at what else we got to go, we got to work on, So there's so many layers, give yourself some grace, give others the grace, and live in the, in the grace of love. All right. So that's what I have for you guys. I'd just like to say thank you to my returning subscribers for coming through and spending a little time with me. Sidebar for all of you that joined the ritual Saturday, 1:11 p.m. I will be sending out the links to you guys. 1:11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be the time of the ritual. Okay? So I'm wishing you all light and love and blessings on blessings. Namaste, gang, gang. Bye.